there, Dolly friends. I'm so happy that you're here today because I want to show you some of the kits that I got and I want to make one of them. These are House of Miniatures kits from the 1970s. I think this first one was from 1977. It's a dry sink, and this is a little candle stand. And they indicate the style of furniture that they were. This says it's a Queen Anne candle stand circa 1725 through 1760. This is a tilt top table, and this is a fire screen. So these were all from the 18th century, or after the style of the furniture in the 18th century, but they were made in the United States mainly, um, by the Exacto company. I didn't know that House of Miniatures was Exacto. So I was trying to decide between these two, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do the candle stand because I want to change it into a plant stand for one of my ferns in the parlor. This will probably be one of the last projects that I work on in the Whistleby house for a while. So I opened it up. They were still in their plastic and everything, and I really like this one because there are not very many pieces to it. It's a very basic, simple kit, but look how nice and new it all looks after, nearly 50 years of being in this box. I think that's pretty incredible. It looks brand new. The wood is not dry or disintegrated or any of that or discolored anything. I think that was just a label. Maybe it was, this says engineered and designed in USA by Exacto, machined in Taiwan, ROC. Anyway, so I want to make sure that I have all the pieces. Oh, wow, there's a lot of directions here. I probably won't be looking at those in detail. Yeah, let me just show me the pictures. I like the pictures. When I've seen other miniaturist build kits, there's always some indication of the supplies included and a little layout to make sure that you have all the pieces. And even though I, at a glance, can tell that I have all the pieces, I think this is a good practice. And I was just so excited about my little kit. I wanted to do every little detail the way I was supposed to. So, except for reading the directions. Yeah, except for that part. So you can see I'm carefully fitting them there. Yeah, I obviously have all the pieces here and I am eager to get started. It really is, it really is amazing to me what great condition it's in. It looks brand new, like it just came off the assembly line today and into the store. So before I get started, I wanted to kind of just do a little piecing at a glance to see, that everything lines up and that it fits okay. So I'm just kind of checking it out here. I'm not really even looking at the directions. So I'm guessing that'll go in there, and then this will go on there. That'll be the bottom. And then the legs will somehow get fitted onto this bottom here. Of course, not like that. I have it upside down, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually curved where it will apply to the cylinder of the bottom peg there. Anyway, I'll show you that in just a moment. So it looks like that's all going to fit. I just want to point out that it is suggesting that I draw an X on the actual piece of wood to find the center where I'm going to put that the little square piece with the hole in it. So I'll be doing that. The first instruction wants me to cut out this little template here, this little angle template to help me evenly space the legs, which will go around the bottom peg. So what I've done is I just made a copy of my instructions. That way I don't have to compromise them and I can use them again if I want to cut my own pieces. And I just printed it on some scrap cardstock that I had something else printed on that I didn't need. And I'm going to use that. I'm not exactly sure how to use it, but yeah, I'm going to try that. So I'm just sanding all the pieces, of course, which is something I should do. That is a good practice for building kits, and using my trusty paintbrush to brush off the debris there. If you look closely at the little peg piece there, you can see how it's curved to fit around the end there, which is really cool. So yeah, but once you put glue there, you can't see the center through your little hole. So I'm just winging it like I usually do. I'll tell you right now that this is going to be crooked because, yeah, that's just what happens when I build things. So I'm just going to assume that it's going to be crooked. Now, this little task here, which I thought would be just wonderful and divine, turned out to be a real pain in the bottom because they didn't want to stay. And even though I held it there and let it get tacky, it just didn't want to stay, and my clamps weren't holding it right. And there was something going on with my wood glue. It was really watery, which is really bizarre. It did work out here, but I didn't use it anywhere else in the project because it wasn't working out. I used tacky glue instead. Be certain that it is straight and allow glue to set. Right. Now, what I'm doing is wrong here. I should be measuring the bottom of the foot, but for some reason I'm measuring the top. And in the long run, I'm just winging it. I'm just eyeballing it. And I didn't really end up using that little template because I didn't really follow the directions correctly. So, in all my eagerness to do it right, I'm still just doing things the way that I do them because I'm old. See, that's what happens. Harder to break habits. So I need to break that habit. But I'm going to plod along because I finally got that first leg to stick, and now I'm getting this one. Honestly, this is like my fourth try with these legs. I don't even know how long it took me. Way, way too long. Way too long. But I'm going through, and I won't bore you with setting the third leg. I do get it on there. I decided that I wanted to paint the piece because it's just more fun and interesting to me. Now, the stain is really nice if you're building an 18th century scene, which I'm not. I have Whistle by House is more eclectic, and I want this to have like that little, I don't really know what it's called, but I think of it as Italianate, that kind of gold leafed painted Italian furniture or accessories that you see sometimes. I want it to kind of look like that. I don't have any idea at all how to achieve that, but I decided I wanted a gray base, which was probably not the greatest idea, not the greatest idea. Anyway, it's what I did, and I'm using this pearl. You saw me using it on top of the top piece there. It's it's called metallic white. I got this little inexpensive set of acrylics that had some metallic samples in them, metallic white, metallic, you know, uh, red, all different colors here. So now I have out my really nice acrylic paints, and I'm trying to paint some flowers. I have no idea how to do this. I've never done this before. Yeah, so I'm using this super skinny brush that I have, and I'm just dipping some paint in this little thing here. I was going to add more flower petals to it, but it was coming out okay, and I thought I better leave well enough alone. So it looks okay. I'm pleased with it. It's kind of the look that I wanted. I don't want some exact likeness of a flower. I want just the suggestion of a flower. So I'm using like a metallic green now. So just to recap, I painted a prime or base color of just some acrylic gray, and then I used a metallic white on top of that. I did actually 2 coats of that, and then I'm using this metallic green in some detailed areas here, and you might be able to see on the bottom of the feet. I kind of did some practicing on there to see how it looked. And this is not going to be it. I am going to go over it with a couple more layers of different colors. I want it to be darkened. I'm going to use my antique wax, and then I'm going to use some gold rub and buff. So just adding some just very subtle green detail on there. And this will all get toned down a little bit. And it's coming out how I want. I'm going to use a very, very fine sandpaper to give it a light sanding. I wanted to use my steel wool. I had some very fine steel wool, but I couldn't find it. I think I might have used it all. But this is very, very fine sandpaper. It's like 380 or 400 or something like that. Just very lightly to kind of smooth it out. And then I'm going to add my antique wax. So now I'm using my antique wax here with just a wet paintbrush and wiping it to see how that looks. It looks okay. I'd like it to be a little bit darker, so I think I'm going to do 2 coats of that and maybe not have so much water on my paintbrush. I always seem to start out very gingerly when I do a project because I haven't done these things before and I'm not really sure how they're going to work, and I don't want to ruin the work that I've done. So I'm really hesitant when I do things. So it takes me a while to get it done. So I could have been a little more heavy-handed with my wax here, but I didn't. So I did a couple layers of that. So here it is after a couple of light coats of the antique wax, and I'm pretty happy with that. And the next step is to add a little bit of rub and buff, but first I want to see how it's all going to look when I put my plant on it, because that's what I do. I'm just too excited and I have to see how it's going to look. Here's a little doily and my fern, and yeah, it's going to be okay. What do you think? Doily or no doily? I like it both ways. Okay, I just have a very, of course, a very almost a dry little dauber here for my gold. I don't want to, rub and buff is one of those things that it's just so wonderful. You want to just keep putting it on. So I didn't want to overdo it. I still want to be able to see my flowers. Yeah, it really has turned out pretty much how I wanted it to turn out. You can see all the little layers of color there, and I like it. It's very subtle. I didn't do anything on top. I could have done some painting on the top as well, but I decided not to because it's very likely to be always covered with something. But I really like the subtlety of it, and I like that it's not just a plain stained piece of furniture, which I know is very beautiful, but for my eclectic doll's house, this is just right. So here it is inside the parlor, and I'm really happy with it. It's hard to get a good shot of it there. So like I said, I kind of gave you a little teaser. This is probably one of the last projects that I'll have going on for a while anyway in Whistle by House, because I have a totally new property that I want to introduce to you next time. I'm excited to tell you about all my plans for it. So please come back and visit me next time in the doll cupboard.